ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां व्यासशंकरमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। सच्चिदानंद रूपाय कृष्णाय क्लिष्टकारिणे नमो वेदांत वेद्याय गुरवे बुद्धिसाक्षिणे कृष्णद्वैपायनं व्यासं सर्वलोकहिते रतं वेदाब्ज भास्करं वन्दे शमादिनिलयं मुनिं सहस्रमूर्ते सरुषोत्तमस्य सहस्रनेत्रानपादबाहोः सहस्रनाम्नां स्तवनं प्रशस्तं निरुच्यते जन्मजरादिशान्तये. So we'll do from the third mantra. I think the last class we saw up to number 2, verse number 2. So we'll do number 3. Yogo yoga vidham neta, yogo yoga vidham neta, pradhana purusheshwaraha, pradhana purusheshwaraha. Yogo yoga vidham neta, pradhana purusheshwaraha. Narasimha vapushriman, Narasimha vapushriman, Keshavav Purushottamaha, Keshavav Purushottamaha. Yogo yoga vidham neta, pradhana purusheshwaraha, Narasimha vapushriman, Keshavav Purushottamaha. So the first word is called, or word number 18 is called yogaha. So the word yogaha or means yoga comes from the root word called yuj. So yuj means to do something or bringing together something together. Yuj means bringing something together. So it's a discipline. So yoga means a discipline. So we got karma yoga as a discipline, bhakti yoga as a discipline, kriya yoga, ashtanga yoga, kundalini yoga, so many yogas are there. They're all disciplines. Okay. So all are disciplines and they are all required for consistency and control. Okay. So through yoga, through the practice of yoga, one develops self-control and becomes an accomplished person. And yoga is required for one to have chitta ekagrataha, or one pointed mind. So the mind has to be fixated on one particular thing. So your mind should not be wandering around here and there. Right? So it's called yoga. Right? So sometimes, yoga also can mean that an inquiry also is called yoga. Like sometimes one may inquire whether I am doing the right thing or not, or self-analysis also is yoga. Right? So here it talks about yoga. We say, so this Bhagavan who is of the nature of yoga, or the one who is indoor of yoga, the one who owns all the yoga, it's called yoga. Right? And yoga vidam neta. So yoga vidam means the leader of, neta means what? The leader. So the leader is called neta here. Right? So yoga vidham means the leader of those who know yoga. So how does one become a leader? A leader becomes a leader only not just by having called himself a leader. He should know something, or he or she should know about the topic. One should have the mastery or the expertise. Then only when it's called yoga vidam neta. So you don't call Neta just because you have a, you wear a khaki shirt or you wear a, kadar shattai, and then you go around with a cap saying that I'm a Neta. This is not Neta. Neta means the person who knows what he's doing. Right? And one has to know. As a politician also is called Neta. Okay? But there are a lot of politicians who do not know what exactly politics mean also. So they are not called Neta because they are only by name they are acquired. But one has to acquire this name by karma, by doing things, by knowing things. Right? So the Lord is the ultimate Neta. So Yoga Vidham Neta. Right? So then next word, number 20, Pradhana Purusha Ishwaraha. So Pradhana Purushaha and Ishwaraha. So Pradhanam, when you say here, that means that which is the foremost. So Pradhanam. And Purushaha represents neither male nor female. So Purusha means it includes all genders. So neither male, female or transgender, whoever, anything which is there is Purusha. So he is the Pradhana Purusha, means the foremost of everything, and he is of the nature of Ishwaraha. Then 21, Narasimha Vapuhu. So Narasimha Vapuhu means Narasimha Vapuhu. So Narasimha means what? Narasimha, correct? So Simham means lion and Naraha means man. So the one who is half man and half lion is Narasimha Avatara. So you see Narasimha Avatara is Narasimha. And Vapuhu means what? The body. The one with the body of a man and a lion is called Narasimha Vapuhu. So if you look at the history, you see that Bhakta Prahalada was the one who was worshipping Narayana in every form. And Hiranyakashipu was the father of Prahalada. And Hiranyakashipu, being a very strong person who can conquer everything, he could conquer everything. So he had the ahankara that he is the strongest person in the universe and only he should be worshipped and not Vishnu. But unfortunately for, Hiranyakashipu, even the Bhagavan was already born in the form of Prahlada. So even though he could understand his father, but he still couldn't understand, he just couldn't accept the fact that Narayana is actually superior, that is, he is the only one superior. So he just couldn't accept the father being the superior most one. Even though he could see all the devatas coming and surrender to him, he still could feel that only Narayana is the ultimate Bhagavan and he was worshipping only him. So when there's a tussle happened between him, Hiranyakashipu tried so many things to kill that boy. And every time he was rescued by Narayana. Finally, when he finally asked, I want to see who the Narayana is. He said, you are praying so many and you say he's here, he's there, he's here. Then he says he's everywhere. So then when he's challenged by Hiranyakashipu, then Prahalada prays for him that he said he's also present in this pillar also. So when the pillar breaks, Narasimha comes. And because he has got a boon that he cannot be killed by a man or woman or an animal or during daytime or nighttime or during inside or outside, he will not be killed by any devatas or by any kinnar, vanar, everything. So he's got all boons. So the Bhagavan has to find some unique way of killing him. That is why he comes in the form of half lion and no instrument also cannot be used. No shastram can be used to kill him. So no instrument nor any ayudham can kill him. So he had such a boon, and that is why he was very, very arrogant. So he knew that nobody could kill him. Correct. But Bhagavan always has got a way of finding things out. Because that's why it's called Neta. Pradhana Purusha Ishwaraha Netaha. Okay. So here also Narasimha Vapuhu. So the one who comes in the form of the man and the lion, half lion and half man. And he comes and he protects the bhakta and he keeps the trust of the bhakta, because the bhakta's trust has to be kept. So he comes in the form of a half lion, Narasimha Vapuhu. Then he demolishes the Hiranyakashipu. Right? So it's called Narasimha Vapuhu. So what it talks about here is that this person, anyone who is a devoted bhakta, anyone, and the one who has got ananya bhakti towards the Bhagavan, is always blessed by the Bhagavan. So he is also worshipped as Narasimha, Narasimha Avatara, Narasimha Vapuhu. Right? Then, number 22 is called Shriman. So, the word Shriman includes, it means what? The word Shri means wealth. And wealth is actually a feminine one, Lakshmi. So wealth, when you say, is Lakshmi, right? And the word Shri is a feminine gender. Shri, S-H-R-I is a male gender. And Shri is actually a feminine word. So Shri Chakram, or Sri Lata, Sri Lakshmi, all of them are names, right? So Shri represents the feminine power. It represents the wealth, and the one who has got Shrihi in his chest is called Shriman, right? So Bhagavan Lakshmi, as a goddess Lakshmi, is forever permanently residing in the heart of Vishnu, Mahavishnu. So Lakshmi resides permanently in his chest, and that's called Shriman. Right? So we have different sort of Shri. So there are Ashtalakshmis are there. So Griha Lakshmi, Dhan Lakshmi, Dhani Lakshmi, Vara Lakshmi, Jaya Lakshmi, all are Lakshmi. When you say, it means what? Shri. So you can substitute the word Lakshmi with Shri. So whenever you see all these names, the name represents only all different, but ultimately all belong to only one. So you can collapse all the names into one as Shri. And Shri you can collapse into one. Where does it reside? It resides in the heart of Bhagavan Vishnu. So all the names and forms which you see, Gajalakshmi, Dhani Lakshmi, Dhan Lakshmi, Jaya Lakshmi, all Lakshmis you say, whatever Lakshmi you want, you can have. All the Lakshmis eventually represent what? Only one form called Shri. And the Shri is nothing other than, the Shri is always non-separate from the Bhagavan. So Mahalakshmi, or the Lakshmi, the consort, is always with Vishnu. Just as Parvati is always with Maheshwaraha. So you do not worship Parvati separately and Maheshwara separately, because they are both one. And you cannot have an idol in your house having only Shiva there without Parvati. They're supposed to have Shakti and Shivam together. No, I don't like to worship Lakshmi. No, you have to worship together. In all the temples you go, you always see that there will be Balaji there and there will be Lakshmi sitting on both sides. Right? Because that is how it is personified. They will always be the consorts. If you go to Murugan also, there will be Devana Valli and Devani, right? They'll be there. So all of them has got their consorts and you worship with that. Sahita, right? Valli Devane Sahita, Sameta, they say. So, right? Same here also, Shriman. The one who has Lakshmi on his chest is called Shriman. Then, number 23 is Keshavaha. So the Keshava means, Kesha means hair. And the one who has got beautiful hair is called Keshavaha. But this word Keshava has got different connotation as well. So the word Keshava has got different meaning. So one is the beautiful, the hair, it talks about this. And the second aspect is his name is Keshava because he actually killed a demon called Keshi. There was an Asura called Keshi who came to Vrindavan. See, Keshi is a Asura who came to, one of the Asuras who came to kill Krishna. There are so many Asuras up there. So he came to Vrindavan to kill Krishna in the form of a horse. And he got killed by Krishna. So in the Vishnu Purana, there is a support, there is a meaning there, correct? So therefore, in the Vishnu Purana, there is a story there where this horse or the Asura came in the form of a horse, like Putana also came. Right? So many people came to kill Krishna. So one of these avatars, one of these people came and he killed this. So it's called Keshavaha. So Keshava has got two meanings. Number one is the beautiful hair. Second thing is the one who is slayer of Keshi is called Keshavaha. So two names are given. Okay. Then number 24. Purushottamaha. So Purusha Uttamaha. So Purushaha means the one among the human being or the one among everyone. And Uttamaha means the exalted person. So we have Purushottamaha or Purusha Uttamaha, means the Uttama Purushaha. You can say Uttama Purusha. So highly revered person is called Uttama Purusha. Then you got Madhyama Purusha, the one who is in the middle. So Madhyama Purusha is neither actually very highly revered people or highly knowledgeable people. They are in the middle somewhere. Right? So they have started climbing the ladder. And they are somewhere in the middle. So they cannot go back because there is other person climbing at the bottom. So if you come down, you will be trampling those people. So you have to only either stand there or you have to go up, because even in the ladder also, there is a lot of crowd there. Too many people are there. So there's a vice person standing up there, waiting there. And he's about to jump to the other side. So only when he is cross, then only you can go up. So it's a steady process. Right? So Uttama Purusha is the highly exalted person who's already reached the top. He's already crossed. So now what does the Madhyama Purusha do? He now goes. Right? Then this Adama Purusha, the one who has not even got the ladder yet. He's standing outside somewhere. So these people are all climbing. Let them all climb. Let's see how the ladder holds or not. So he's a person who's standing outside and watching the show, saying that I'm just watching how these people go. So maybe the ladder is strong enough, maybe they are all going okay. Then I will later on try. So his Adama Purusha means he has not started anything. So the lowest of the person is called Adama Purusha. So the Purusha itself can be classified as three: Uttama Purusha, Madhyama Purusha, Adama Purusha. The person who has not started yet studying anything, who has not started spiritual studies, called Adama Purusha. Right? The one who has started studying systematically and is on the course, is got onto the ladder, is got into the bus. So one person standing in the bus stop waiting for the bus to come. Bus is going there. Route number so and so coming there. Moksha bus is coming there. He doesn't want to get onto the bus. Bhakti bus is coming there. Doesn't want to get onto the Bhakti bus. Yoga book is coming there. No. Beach bus is coming there. Get onto the beach bus. This bus is good for me. So there are people who are got different priorities, and depending upon what people want, they get into the bus. So Bhakti bus is available, Jnanam bus is available, Karma Yoga bus is available, beach bus is available. So you can go on whichever bus is suitable to you. So that's what it says here. Purushottama means the person who has already taken the path. He has gone through all the bus and finally he has taken the correct bus. Oh, the bus it doesn't go everywhere. So I have gone everywhere and come back to the same stop. Now I am taking the final journey. So he's taking the final journey. So Purushottamaha, the one who is excelling in his jati is all called also Uttama Purusha. I mean the one who is excelling in his particular jati of this called Purushottamaha. So you cannot call Brahmana Uttamaha. So there's nothing called Brahmana Uttamaha because in Brahmana also there are different categories are there. Right? Brashta Brahmana also is there. Right. So Brashta Brahmana means what? The Brahmana was actually is a Brahmana by profession, by by birth, but it's not a Brahmana by karma. So it is all adharmic. He lives the life of a Brahmana. Eats non-vegetarian, eats egg, etc. He goes and does all these things. Doesn't have any prayer concept. So it's called. So Brahmana is not called by birth. Brahmana is actually by. Number one, by deed, you should be a Brahmana. And the second thing, you should be a Brahmana by knowledge. So Brahma Jnana iti Brahmana. So the one who knows Brahman is called Brahmana. Not somebody who's just an Upanayanam is called Brahmana. Shastram doesn't accept. The Karma Kanda accepts Brahmana means you are eligible to do Upanayanam, you can do all the karmas if you are Brahmana. But Shastram says even if a person doesn't have Upanayanam, but a person has got interest in studying Shastram, knowing that he is also Brahmana. So that's why sannyasis don't have Upanayana, but they are worshipped. Why? Because they are superior in knowledge. So Purushottama, correct? Another word for this is that he is a person who is known in every Vedas. So Purushottama is a person who is known in every Veda. So in chapter 15 in the Bhagavad Gita, it's called Purushottama Yoga, where the entire chapter is discussed or talked about in the Purushottama Yoga. Then number 4. Sarva Sharva Shivastanuhu Sarva Sharva Shivastanuhu Bhutadir Nidar Avyaha Bhutadir Nidir Avyaha Sambhavo Bhavano Bharta Prabhava Prabhurishwaraha. So the first word is called Sarvaha. See, Sarvaha means all, or the one who is the essence of everything is called Sarvaha. Okay. So when you say Sarvam, it means all encompassing. So inside and outside, Antar Bahischa Tat Sarvam Vyapta Narayana Sthitaha. So inside, outside is what? Sarvam. So there is nothing which is anything else other than inside and outside. They cannot be sideways because either inside means inside your body, outside means outside in every direction is called Sarvaha. Just as the clay and the clay pot is non-separate. You cannot separate the clay from the clay pot, correct? So when you see the clay pot, what do you see there? You see only clay. You do not see anything else other than the clay, correct? Now I see the clay pot. Yes, definitely you see the clay pot. But what do you see? What are you seeing ultimately? You're seeing only clay there. Right? So there are no two things. It is our appearance is like this. So whenever we see an object, right, we always see two things. We see the thing which is not a Satyam. Like when I see somebody else, we see the person as human body. Right? We see the person as a human intellect, as a buddhi. But when you remove all those, a person as God, like if you remove the ahankara, the buddhi, etc., what do you see in the person? Is Atma, consciousness, as well as what you are. So the same, when you remove your own, ignorance, ajnanam, you will be able to see the same thing in other person. Till such time you cannot see. It is like wearing a cooling glass. When you have a dark glass, what do you see? You only see dark things. Everything is in dark. But when you remove the glasses, or when you have clear glass, you can see through clearly. So it reflects what you are seeing. What is the upadhi you are seeing, correct? That's what it says here. So sarvaha means that which is the cause of everything, cause of birth and resolution of everything is called sarvaha. So sarvasya jnanam, sarvasya jnanat, or the one who is all knowing, all present, who is the cause of everything is called sarvaha. So sarvam kalvidam brahmasi. Tameva sarvam kalvidam brahmasi. Right? So that means what? You are the one. Sarvam is used. Right? Then sharvaha. See, the word sarvaha and sharvaha are different words. Correct. So sharvaha. See, if you look at Shiva Upasana mantra, Sarvaya Namaha, Sarvalingaya Namaha, Sharvaya Namaha. Correct. So Sarvalingaya Namaha means what? All, and Sharvaha. So Sharva means what? The destroyer, or the one in which everything goes into, is called Sharvaha. Samhara Murti, it's called Sharvaha. Right? So Samhara Samaye means that during Samhara Samaye, when everything is resolved into the person, is called Sharvaha. So during the Pralaya, when everything gets resolved, or it goes into unmanifest stage. So every time we go to sleep, we are actually from Sarvaha, we go into Sharvaha. So from all knowing personality to what we again go into unmanifest stage. So again from unmanifest, which is, so what is unmanifest? It means that which cannot be seen. So you do not have the experience of anything at all. So when you go to deep sleep state, you do not know anything about your own self, anything about your own parents, your lineage, your gotram, kulam, jati, this universe is not anything. You don't even know you are there. Right? Right? But you are there, you know that you are there without knowing you are there. Okay. So it is like this trance. That's why when you say here, at that time when you really go into sleep state, you are actually going from manifest to unmanifest. So then again from unmanifest, you again going to be manifest in the morning. So morning again you wake up, again the same thing comes back into existence. You recognize all your people who are there last night, and you know the people, everybody you know. Correct? So it's called, this is Sharvaha. Sarvaha, Sharvaha. Correct? So there is really no destruction. See, Sharva literally means destroyer. But there is no destruction, because when you go to sleep, you do not destroy this world. You do not destroy your parents. You do not destroy your own personal belongings. Your iPad is still there. Your phone is still there. Everything is there. The most important thing is your phone. Because you can forget everything else, you cannot forget your phone, correct? Morning, what do you do? First thing when you wake up, the phone wakes up. And then the WhatsApp messages are checked first. Is it right? The first thing you wake up is, you start the phone, you first check, don't check anything else. First check all the WhatsApp messages who have come there. Then you reply to the messages sitting on the bed itself. So, the phone doesn't get destroyed. The message doesn't get destroyed. You also don't get destroyed. What happens is only the phone gets dissolved. Just as the messages go into the phone and they get resolved, so also your thoughts go into your own subconscious and get resolved. So you do not go anywhere, you are still there. But you are there without knowing you are there. That's all difference. That's why Sharvaha. So there is, in Vedanta, we don't say there is destruction or there is no creation, because you don't get create. You don't create this world every day. The world is still the same thing as it is there it was. Only things you do not know it is there. That's all. So it's exactly the same place. Sun will be there, moon will be there, tree will be there, your car will be there, your phone will be there. Everything will be there in the same place. Your children also will be there next to you also. There will be no changes at all. But over a period of time, things will change. Right? So Sharvaha. So Sarvaha, Sharvaha. Two different meanings. Okay. Then Shivaha. So word number 27 is Shivaha. So Shivaha, Shivam means auspiciousness. Shivaha means auspiciousness. And Shiva represents the Saguna Brahma. Saguna means what? The one with the form, the one with the name, the one with the attributes. So when I say Shiva or Shivaha, it represents always an object of knowledge. It represents something which has got an attribute called auspiciousness. Correct. When you say auspicious, when you say, that means it's something very unique, very special, auspicious, Badram, Kalyanam, right? Mangalam. All these are named for Shivaha. So Shivaha represents the manifest. And Shivam represents the one who is responsible or the Adharam for Shivaha. So Shivaha is a person who has got a quality of Shivam. So Shivam and Shivam, Shiva, there are different words. Hope you're getting the meaning, right? Shivam is different from Shivaha. So Namah Shivaya Varga, they say. So they say Namah Shivaya Varga, in Nathan Tal Varga, Imai Perdum Vindenjil Hingatan Tal Varga. They say this. So what it means is Namah Shivaya means to that Shiva, my Namaskara, or my Namaskaram. So who is this of the nature of consciousness? So Shivam represents consciousness, or which is Nirvishesham Brahma, or Nirvikalpam Brahma, or Nirupadika Brahma. And Upadhi Sahitam Brahma is called Shivaha. So Shiva represents the manifest form, Shivam represents the unmanifest form. Just as Sarva, Sharvaha difference is there. When chanting, people make a mistake. Sarva, Sharva, Sarva, Sarva, they chant like this. So very important. Sarva, Sharva, Shivastanuhu. Very important. Okay. Same way, Sarvaya Namaha, Sarva Lingaya Namaha, Sharvaya Namaha. So Shivaha. Okay. So Vishnu also is called as Shiva. Why does Shiva comes here? See, this is actually a Vaishnava Sampradaya. And what does Shiva has got to do here? Because Vishnu is none other than Shiva. There is no difference between Vishnu and Shiva, because auspiciousness is consciousness. Auspiciousness doesn't belong to a particular person. It belongs to, it's a common name, common thing. You cannot say that I'm only auspicious. You're unauspicious. All of us are auspicious, because we all belong to only one thing called auspiciousness. But somehow, due to our own intellect, our own limitations, we think that I am not auspicious, or I am not happy. Happiness is our nature. Right? We are all happiness personified, and we all belong to the same happiness. But happiness differs in person to person. Somebody will say that I am less happy. Somebody will say I am not happy at all. Somebody says I need to discover happiness. Someone says I have already discovered happiness. So there are various levels of happiness being discovered by people. But happiness is the one which is a universal truth sought by everybody. Whether you like it or not, happiness is something which is sought by everybody. Even dukkham also, you want to be happy also. Because a person who is actually drinking or getting into drugs or other activities, why does he want to do that? Because he wants to be happy in the state of mind. So when somebody drinks, what does he do? He wants to forget his sorrow, correct? That's how by forgetting sorrow, what does it bring? He wants to bring happiness. So can happiness be removed? You cannot remove. because it cannot be dropped, it cannot be acquired, because it is you have already got it all the time. So you cannot something say that I'm going to get new happiness or I'm going to drop happiness, because it is always with you. But somehow due to this ajnanam, ignorance we have, we are not able to see that. We are not able to, and then it's go and search for everything. Happiness theater. So I'm nimmadi theater. Nimmadi theater alaidal. So you keep searching for happiness. Because happiness is always with you. That's why it says here that Shivaha, so auspiciousness, free from all the gunas, Shuddhaha. Then 28th word is called Sthanuhu. So Sthanuhu means the one who is firm, immovable. Stiram is the word. So Stiraha means firm, and Sthanuhu means that which asikka mudiyadavar, the one who cannot be moved. Because he is present everywhere. So there's no place for him to move anywhere, because a person, we can move because we are limited by space. Okay. But when you say that I am the space, I am not restricted by anything, then you don't have to go anywhere. So imagine now you got all your bedrooms, everything, house constructed, and you divided the wall into different rooms, and this is bedroom, this is living room, this is puja room, etc. But the space is still the same. You are building your house in space. You are living in space. You are breathing in space. So space was always there existing before. So the space has never gone anywhere. Correct? So space doesn't go anywhere, it's still there. When you remove the house, space is gone, it's still there. Correct? So Sthanuhu. So even if you have a mobile home, so now in Australia you have got a mobile home. So you can construct a mobile home and you can take the whole home with you. The home is gone, but the land is still there, the space is still there. Somebody will come and build another house there. You are only taking what? You are taking only the upadhi. You are only taking the structure. Correct? And the structure is actually going to be what? The structure is actually taken in space, moved in space, placed in space. So, Sthanuhu, you cannot do anything in space, because space doesn't move. Can you say the space is moving? You can see the clouds are moving, because the clouds, they move in the space. Correct? So what do you say? Oh, Agayam, Agayam, space isn't going anywhere. Space is Sthanu. Right? Just like that, she is here. Vishnu also is always there. He doesn't go anywhere because he has got no place to go. Where can he go? Because when he's pervaded everything everywhere, he cannot go anywhere else. So it's called Sthanuhu. See, in Vedanta, there's a topic called Sthanuhu Nikhanana Nyayaha. Sthanuhu Nikhanana Nyayaha. It is actually a, what do you call it? It's logic. So Nikhanana Nyaya. Nyaya means logic. Correct. So the logic means what? That before you want everything to be stable. You want a stable home. You want a stable income. You want a stable car. You want a stable husband. You want a stable children. Everything you want stable. You want stability in everything. Correct? So people are looking for sthanu or stiram in everything. You do not want anything to be astiram. Right? And Bhagavan says that you are actually, I am actually stiram only. But we are not, we are moving everywhere, correct? Because we do not have any firm commitment. So we are actually thinking that, oh, everything's inflexible. Tomorrow I will have a job, I will not have a job. It's all in the realm of only objective world only. So in the Shastram, there is a way of understanding this. How? Is through Shravanam, that is listening. Mananam, which is by going through what you learned before. So whatever you're reading today, you have to again go back and assimilate. Just like the cow, you see the cow, what does it do? It eats. So it's very busy eating there. It doesn't look at here and there what's happening there. Its process is to what? Is to get the food there and it will eat. After that, what does it do? It goes, sits in one place. Then Asha Podru. It will bring out all the thing which is there. It will keep on assimilating things, correct? So it doesn't get disturbed by what people are doing there. Right? At the same time, when you're eating the food also, it doesn't look up who is coming there. It's very busy eating the food. And while ruminating also, it is very busy doing its own activities. Because what does it do? It actually brings out all the food there, and then it actually enjoys the taste of it. Then it digests the food. Then it goes. Same way here also, the Shravanam is first process. Listening is the first process. Mananam is going through what you learned so far, going through the notes, going through, recollect, and then remove all the doubt you got by constantly learning, continuous learning. Right? So these two are required. So an example, what we do is, when you want to construct a pandal for a wedding, supposing there's a wedding in your house, and you want to construct a big pandal, So what do? First of all, for constructing the pandal, you need to have 4 pillars, right? You cannot construct the pandal just like that. You need to have 4 pillars. So the pillars required. Then for holding the pillar, you need to dig hole, right? So you need to dig hole first of all to hold the pillar. So you keep digging until the pole goes to some length. And then what do? You first shake the pillar to see whether it is shaking or not. So when you shake the pillar, what's that mean? The hole is big. Or the pillar won't go in. So what do? You can dig more. So knowledge doesn't go in, you dig more. Do more Shravanam. Correct? More listening, more Mananam. So when it is there, then again you feel that hole has become too big now. Correct? So there is more thing to be refined. So what do? You add some cement there, add some more sand there, and you cover it so that the pillar doesn't move now. Again you shake it. Correct? So the pillar doesn't shake. Then what do? You know that the pillar is now sthanuhu, steady. Correct? So the pillar is steady means then you go to the other pillar and do same thing. So same way you do all the 4 pillars, then you do the pandal. So then it's steady, it's remains steady. But if the whole pillar is shaking, then you can never construct anything on top. You can never be steady. So that's why sthanuhu here means what? Sthiram, steady. Right? So the one who does not undergo any change, the one who is always steady is called sthanuhu. So it's called sthanuhu nikhanana nyayaha. So the philosophy is that you keep refining the pole till such time you become very steady, steadfast in your knowledge, that nothing can shake you, nothing can move you from your goal. Okay? When you're starting your studies, so many things will come, interference will come. You feel not well, you feel going to movie, somehow or the other you want to skip the class, something or other will come. These are called hindrances. This is all actually, it's not adhyatmika tapaha. So tapaha means what? They are their own adhyatmika, one's own disturbances. It is not to do with other people, because other people are there to, definitely they are there. But one's own commitment is very firm, then you will not waver. Nobody can do anything for you. So it's called sthanuhu. So firm, the one who is immovable is called sthanuhu. Then bhutadihi, word number 29. Bhutadihi. Bhuta adihi means, bhutam or bhutaha means all beings. And adi means the one who is the source, or one is the beginning of everything. So one is the source of every living and non-living being is called bhutadi. So adi means the beginning, the cause, and the cause is always before the effect. So there has to be a cause for the effect to come. So there has to be fire for your finger to burn. Your finger cannot burn without the fire being there. So what is the cause? The cause is the fire, the effect is the burnt finger. So that's why the cause has to be always there. So the one who is the foremost is called bhutadi. Then number 30, Nidir Avyayaha. So Nidir Avyayaha means Avyayam, when you say it is called indestructible. Avyayaha means indestructible, and Nidhihi means treasure. Nidhi. When they say Nidhi means what? Something which is secured. So in Tamil we have Nidhi. Nidhi is a very common word. Nidhi means what? Is some treasure we are holding on to. It is secure treasure. Nidhi. So Bhagavan is called Nidhi here because he is holding the treasure. He is very secure. And all the precious things in this world is held by him. He does not, he makes sure that everything in this world is actually controlled by him. And when you say controlled by him, there's nobody controlling physically there. So we always have a view that somebody is sitting there and watching. Somebody is sitting there and giving us papam punyam. No. There's nobody sitting there and giving papam punyam. It is your own karma which is responsible for this. There is no Bhagavan called sitting there and dishing out punyam and papam. So we all have a view that Bhagavan will come and punish us. Actually, your own karma is punishing you. There's nobody else punishing there. So that is why it's called Nidhihi. Means he has set up all the laws. He has set up all the required controls in place so that nothing gets destroyed and everything is maintained. So when the whole pralaya happens, all the wealth also goes back to the same position. So he doesn't have anything to take, he doesn't have anything to give. Because he doesn't need anything. Bhagavan. We need a lot of things to live. But he is somebody's Nidir Avyayaha because the indestructible. You cannot destroy anything in this world. You can say destroyed a pot. Even the pot, if it destroy also, it continues to exist in the form of clay. Correct. You say I destroyed a person, or somebody got, but still the person continues to exist in some form or the other. Because even if a person, its ending is finished, the entire life is over, you cremate the person, everything is gone. Finally, what you get some small urn like this, and that also goes into the same river only. He continues to exist in some form or the other. So what have you destroyed? You have not destroyed anything. He continues to exist, live in some form or the other. That's why it's called Avyayaha. Correct. So Nidir Avyayaha means a treasure which is always there and is of indestructible nature. Like when you go to deep sleep state, what do? You take all your secure things, WhatsApp messages, WhatsApp phone, your husband, wife, children, everybody, you take it into unmanifest stage. Protective alarm, bank locker, lock connection. Nobody can touch anything, correct? But when you come back again all the wealth comes out. Makkal Shalvam, Purul Shalvam, all of them comes out, correct? So in the same way, Bhagavan also holds it. He also holds everything for you, systematic place. So Nidir Avyayaha doesn't get destroyed. Then Sambhavaha, number 31. Sambhavaha. So Sambhava means happening. And one who manifests himself due to his own will is called Sambhavaha. See, there are two things talked about. One thing is called Avatara Purushaha. Avatara Purushaha is the Shariram which is through Maya Shakti. So the Avatara Purusha, the Rama, Krishna who have come there, they are called Avatara Purusha because they are themselves created out of Maya Shakti. So the Shakti is the Maya, the form itself is Maya. It is actually not the truth. Whereas the form which we have is through avidya. Through our own ignorance, the form is there. And it is a real form. So that's why they can disappear whenever they want. when the particular things is over, they will just disappear without telling anybody. They just go. Avatara Purusha. So Krishna also, when he wanted to leave this world, he knew that his life was only that much. He's done his job. Mahabharata war is over, and because of the Shapa was given, so all his Yadav Kula was all demolished because he accepted the Shapam also. Gandhari, when he gave Shapam, that all your Yadu Kula will be vanished, and he accepted it because he wanted to end the world. He wanted, because he had come for what? Yada yada hi dharmasya glane bhavati bharata abhyudhanam adharmasya. So whenever the adharma was there, he came only for protecting. Pavitranaya sadhunam vinashaya chatushkrutam. Correct. So dharma samsthapanaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So I'll come in every yuga only to what? To restate dharma. And as soon as dharma is your, I will go. So his role was over, he finished. So nobody asked him to go. And he didn't have any, he chose his own death. Right? So one hunter, he killed him. Because in the previous Janma, Vali actually was killed by Rama. And the next Janma, because Vali said that next Janma I will be there for you. So he was also killed by a hunter. Krishna was killed by a hunter, that's why he had to go. Right? So all this Purusha, they just create their own things. So it's called here Sambhavaha, who makes things, or who manifests out of his own Ichcha. There is no requirement for him to be coming at any point of time. When he thinks that adharma is very, very increasing a lot and the world cannot be sustained and there is an immense destruction to the whole mankind, people cannot live, subhiksham is not there, then he will come. In any form he will come. It may be in the form of a good person, in the form of some destructive person, etc. Correct? Like all the Matsya Avatara, see the Dashavatam you see here, Matsya Avataram, Kurma Avataram, Varaha Avataram, Narsimha Avataram, Rama Avataram, Krishna Avataram, all of them are Avatara because they have come from different forms. They have come in different ways and they come for different purpose. Right? So he has Maya Shakti under his control because he is the Sutradhar. He knows when to go, how much to expand, how much to give the reel and take it also. Right? So these are called, that's why it's called Sambhavaha, who makes things happen. Correct? So Sambhavaha also means what? Uchita Kalaha, Uchita Deshaha. Uchita Kalam, Uchita Desham. Uchita means what? The right time and right place. So he will be born or he will come into the right time and right place. When the time is right. That's called Sambhavaha. Then Bhavanaha, next word, 32. So Bhavanaha means what? The giver of the fruits of action. Karma Phala Dhatha. So whatever karmas we do, whatever actions we do, we are going to get two results. Drishta Phalam, Adrishta Phalam. What is Drishta Phalam? Immediate results. You go to the movie theater, you buy a ticket for $200, first day, first show. A lot of people buy in Sydney. So there are people who actually are first day, first show people. The moment the film is released, they will buy the show, they go there. And then they go sad, Yanda Porantono. They go there and say they expect Ajay and some Lay Talangan, whatever, some people call whatever, I don't know. So some movie star is there, somebody comes there. So they go and watch the movie there. Right? And then they go with the expectation that that something will be great. Talaivar movie is there. But it doesn't happen to be that way. They came with an expectation, the movie was not good there. So they came back and say, oh my God, what a headache I got. So you went there with what? And you got Drishta Phalam, correct? So you got Drishta Phalam, means you got results, what you expected, that you enjoyed something what there. Adrishta Phalam is what? Something you're going to see later on. When you go home after some time, tomorrow when you wake up, you will have headache. You will repent that my $200 is waste. and I'm become poor by $200. Again, what? So this is the other stuff. So all these are, you get it. Some direct results you get. Some indirect results you get afterwards. Like somebody will come and tell, why did you waste $200? Wife will say, why do you have to go there and buy a ticket, come back and have a headache, and then because you will keep on cribbing. This also you have to get it. This is other stuff. You will not know when you go to the theater movie, but you know it is going to come because you do not know, but it's already there. So when you come back, you will get the other stuff. So both are given by this Bhagavan. So karma phala data, sambhavaha, bhavanaha. Right? So the results of our actions are not always keeping with expectations, because we only have the right to do karma. Karmani eva adhikaraste mahaphaleshu kadachana. So karmani eva adhikara asti means what? You only have a right towards doing karma only. Mahaphaleshu kadachana. You do not have any control results. You can expect results, but you cannot control the results. Right? So the word sambhavaha is also connected to this word called bhavanaha, because he makes things happen, he appears in this form, he creates all the jivas, he gives them karma, he gives them phalam, and then he goes to that. So he is a person who can do some mayavi. So Bhagavan is called a great mayavi. Right? Because he is a magician par excellence. See, the magician, which you go to magic show, you can perform only magic to only objects here. But the Bhagavan can also control the magic for the magician also. He can make the magic operate on the magician also. Correct? Because these are subject to the same philosophy. So it's called Sambhavaha Bhavanaha. Is it clear so far?
Yes.
Any questions anyone has got?
No.
All clear. Okay.
நேத்திக்கு லாஸ்ட் வீக் அர்த்த பக்தா அண்ட் ஜிக்ஞாசு பக்தா என்ன சொல்லவே இல்லை நீங்க. ஜிக்ஞாசு பக்தா and ஞானி பக்தா.
Oh, so see, we got 4 bhaktas here. Chaturvida Vajanti Mam.
Yeah.
So Chaturvida means there are 4 types of bhaktas. See, Artha Bhakta, Artharthi Bhakta, Jigyasu Bhakta, Jnani Bhakta. So Artha Bhakta, I told you, is a person who is interested because he has come accidentally or stumbled upon somebody who has told that you go and do this because he doesn't have any way. Correct? Artha Bhakta. Artharthi Bhakta is a negotiator. He's a calculator. So he's slightly better than Artharthi Bhakta. He's got some Bhagavan, some religious things are there. Puja
First one is opportunist. First one is opportunist. Yeah.
Not opportunist. He's actually he's a religious person, but he has got he wants something from the Bhagavan.
Okay.
He's not opportunist, you can say. What he will say is, see, look, I am a very good devotee of you. I come and I'm doing all the puja for you. I'm doing abhishekam for you. I'm doing all these things for you. So I'm a bhakta for you. So why don't you take care of your bhakta? Why are you not taking care of your bhakta? So the Bhagavan asks, what do you want? See, Bhagavan doesn't ask. You ask the question and you get the answer. Like in the afternoon class, Sahasri class, I told you, right? Sheshadri was there. People talk to themselves. I talk to Krishna daily. I talk to Rama every day. When you say you talk to Rama means you do not talk to Rama. Rama is not somebody there. One part of you is talking to another part of Rama. So the same mind is talking to another part of the mind, saying that, oh mind, I am talking to Rama, another mind. So you go to the temple also and you say to him, because he's a murti there, and you say, my son is going to, HSC exam is there. If he gets good ATAR, 99.99% marks, I'll come to Tirupati and donate free food for 5 days. Let's say you agree like this. So there is a discussion happening between there that you do something for me, I will take care of something for you. So there is a bhakta connection is there. See, it's not like opportunist. He says, I'm a bhakta, so I will do everything for you. You please do something for me at least. So it's called Artharthi Bhakta. Right? So from Padipadida, from Artharthi Bhakta, he does like this and Bhagavan does something for him. Some people forget it. Oh, I don't know about it. So time will lie. The wife reminds, see, you have taken a vow and you have to go. He says, now we can't go. So all these things are there. But whenever you go, you have to fulfill a promise. This is the Artharthi Bhakta should do. Most people do, some people don't do. But eventually they do. Correct? Then you have Jigyasu Bhakta. So Jigyasu Bhakta is one level higher than he has crossed over all of them and now he wants to know, okay, see, now I think I've heard enough in my life. I think you've done enough for me. And I'm very satisfied now, but I really want to know who you are. So are you just the form sitting there? Are you this person? Or are you something different? Right? So Jigyasu means the desire to know who is Bhagavan is. The desire, when you go to the temple, you ask a fervent question, who are you? Are you this Velayudan? Are you this Shiva? Are you Vishnu? Who are you? Right? I want to know who you are. So consistently you ask the question again and again. The Bhagavan will say, okay, I'll send you a guru now. So he says, he will know me only through the Guru. That's why Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha. So why does say Guru Brahma? Because through the Guru only Ishvara is known. Ishvara does not represent directly to you. Ishvara comes to you in the form of a Guru. That's why always Guru is worshipped. Right? Ishvaro Guru Armiti Murti Beda Vidahini. So always Guru is, so that is why this Jigyasu Bhakta when he goes, he doesn't ask for anything more. He only asks for knowledge. I want to know who you are. So due to the consistent prayer of this one, he gets Guru Katarcham. The teacher is available. And through the teacher, he knows who the Bhagavan is. Later on, he claims that, oh, I know what Bhagavan is. I am Bhagavan. So it becomes Jnani. So in Jnanam, what happens? The distance between the Bhagavan and you become, there's no distance anymore. So he's very satisfied. When next time he goes to temple, he doesn't ask anything. He doesn't do anything. He just stands there. Jnani Bhakta means this Bhakta is what I prefer, because the Bhagavan prefers the Bhaktas who's actually one with him. He's okay with people who are asking something, but he really loves the Bhagavan, the Bhaktas who are actually not asking him and become one with him. This is called Jnani Bhakta. So Chaturvida Bhakta, Chaturvida Bhajante Mam. I mean, there are 4 types of people who worship Krishna, Arjuna. Out of that, Jnani is the most preferred one for me. It doesn't mean that other people are useless. He says that this person is the most preferred for me, is more priyaha. Means I like this person because he doesn't ask anything from me and he thinks that I am one with him. So I do not have any work to do for him. Other people, I have to do a lot of work for them. I have to give something for them, then I have to take care of them, all these things, correct? Is it clear, Krishnaji?
Yeah, clear. Yeah.
Any other question from anyone? Before we conclude the class? Okay.
3 years back you taught this.
Sorry? Yes. See, in the previous class at 2 o'clock I told you, right?
17/9. No, September 1917, 2017.
Correct.
This sloga was passed.
17th September 2017. I remember that.
Yeah, I got the notes.
Correct. So it's almost 3 years now since I'm doing this course again. 3 years. So I did this Sahasranama course 3 years ago. I think it took about 1 year. I think one and a half years something it took. So don't be afraid, okay? So if I say 1.5 years, oh my God, I'll be stuck with you for 1.5 years. Don't worry about it. Time will just go. You'll enjoy the class, I can guarantee you. Because by the end of this whole Sahasranama, you will enjoy chanting Sahasranama better than anyone else. I can guarantee you this. You will really enjoy the meaning of it. You will be one with the words, and it will give you a lot of comfort and ananda. Very important. Okay, so it's a long course or long haul course. I'm taking time in my explanation, but it is okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tatsat Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Namaste, Shubhratri. So we got a last class today, 7:45 for the Bhagavad Gita. We'll see who's interested in the class.
7:45 Sydney time இல்லையா?
Aman sir. You can come for whatever time you want. You can go to sleep. You can attend if you want to, and you can go to sleep also in the class.
Okay,
You are allowed to sleep in the class, but you are not allowed to bunk the class.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.